Good evening. Will you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Get back in my chair. Roll call, please.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Hill is excused. Hannah.
Yes.
Lenius.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Grover.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion for Mike O'Laughlin,
I'll second.
second from John Kurtz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next up is our public comments. This is a time set aside for visitors and public comments only on topics of city business other than those listed on tonight's agenda. Please understand the council cannot take any action on your comments at this meeting due to requirements of the open meetings law, but may do so at a future meeting. Each speaker will be allowed a maximum of 5 minutes to state their comments. And so if you come forward, you need to give your name and address. First is, I can't read your handwriting on Juniper, my neighbor. Where's he at? Carl? Kurt.
Oh, no, he told me I had to get a signed.
Oh, Kurt Schertz.
Yeah.
That's, I just wanted a copy of the agenda.
You didn't want to speak on anything? Oh,
Well, you can.
yeah. You sure you don't want to
Pick a
give us
subject.
some of your
Talk
wisdom
about the
that
guy
you would
next to
like?
you.
Some wisdom of any kind? Nothing? Okay. And I'm going to be talking about the airport committee later, but if Jeff, is it Rodenhouse? If you would like to come forward? Just need your name, address for our records.
Jeff Ridinghouse, LaPorte City, Iowa.
Okay.
I operate a spray business out of the airport. I've been operating it for 10 years now. I've been at the airport for 17 years. Jim Connell taught me how to fly. When Jim was there, I supported his FBO. And now that Jonathan's there, I've supported him. So I've always supported who has ran and operated the airport. And I'm the one that wrote the letter here a couple weeks ago, supported Jonathan when you guys decided to allow him to get out of his contract. And I'm deeply disappointed in that decision that Jonathan is leaving. I think he's done a lot of good things that I've never seen Jim run the airport like Jonathan has. He's brought so much enthusiasm to the airport community and recognition to the city of Independence. It's just phenomenal what he has done, and we're losing him. But I kind of want to blame you guys somewhat for that, because talking to a lot of different people here over the last couple weeks, I see a sequence of events that kind of led up to all this. And one of the decisions was to allow Mr. Connell to operate a repair business at the airport, and that undermined your FBO, Jonathan, to make it a viable business on his part. When Jim retired, he had his good old boys club that he always worked with at the airport, and all them people are still there, and they're supportive of Jim, and they believe in what Jim says, and they go with Jim. So all their maintenance went with Jim. And then I know Jim supported Jonathan these first years, but then he kind of turned on Jonathan, and it kind of made an atmosphere of the airport that was, Jim's side and then Jonathan's side. So it made it really hard. Now enough on that. Mr. Bachman's accusations of I heard in a recording that Mr. Bachman called us spray pilots a bunch of cowboys. I resent that fact. I farm, and spraying and protecting our crops is part of the business. And the crops are on the ground, hence that's where you got to fly. Where the crops are, you can't spray 200 feet in the air. Doesn't work. And some of the things that he accuses us of is major chemical spills and blocking the tarmac, that impeding his ability to navigate around the airport as he wants is not correct. A few Saturdays ago, he came out there and took some pictures of an aircraft, an ag plane that was running. He claimed it was in his way, but he was sitting in his pickup when he took the photos. He wasn't sitting in his airplane trying to get out to the runway. So his main cause was to come out there and cause trouble and aggravate us and just be a troublemaker. And he's very good at it. He's a very well-spoken person. And people listen because he's very well educated. He's done a lot of good things for the city, I understand, but he causes an awful lot of trouble also.
One more minute.
And I wish you guys could see the good that Jonathan has done and understand that he's young. I get that. But you also got to understand how Mr. Bachman is. And there's no pleasing him. No one ever is going to please that guy. And we want him to quit harassing us at the airport.
Okay.
He's harassing the good people that are there at the airport for his own cause, to get it his way. We all joke that he wants to call it Bachman International Airport. It's the Independence Airport, not just one person.
Okay.
Question for you. Why don't you file harassment charges, or have they been filed?
Trust me, there's been plenty of people that has talked to lawyers, and that is a very hard case to prove, but it is being looked into. It is, yeah. And I also put my name in, and I probably just burnt the bridge, but with Jonathan leaving, with Jim running a repair business, it's going to make it impossible for any other airport operator to run a viable business there. So you're going to have to look for a part-time person, someone that has other means of income to operate the airport, because they can't do it by the income that an FBO can operate. So I kind of threw my hat in with Al and I think he sent that letter to you, that email here a week ago, that I would like to be the airport manager. But it would be on a part-time basis, not the way Jonathan ran it, or Jim back in the years.
Okay.
So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: the minutes of the July 24th, 2017 regular meeting, city financial statements from the month of July, budgeted transfers for the month of July, the 2017 outstanding debt obligation disclosure report to be filed with the Treasurer, State of Iowa, Fire Department financials from the month of July, waiver the City of Independence Code 17.22 of the Planning and Zoning Ordinance for the purpose of the citywide garage sales, October 5th, 2017 through October 8th, 2017. Heartland Acres Agribition Center Class C Commercial Class B Native Wine Outdoor Service and Sunday Sales Liquor License, September 1st, 2017 through August 31st, 2018. Pabst Tap LLC Class C Commercial Living Quarters Outdoor Service and Sunday Sales Liquor License, September 1st, 2017 through August 31st, 2018. And Music Station Incorporated Premises Change Class E Liquor License, August 1st, 2017 through April 29th, 2018.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion from Grover, seconded by Lennius. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is approval of the claims.
Before you approve the claims, I want to make you aware of one bill in particular. It is Northway Well and Pump for $15,925. That is work that was performed at the MHI well. Prior to our conversation, at this point, we did receive the bill. It's in this packet, in this listing of claims.
I got a question now. Who ate $1,300 worth of pizza?
Who ate $1,300 a piece? I thought that was our last council meeting.
I didn't eat that much.
The swimming pool.
I believe that went to the swimming pool.
Bill's Pizza delivers pizza down there every day, and they sell it at the concession stand.
They sell it?
Is that yours, Angie? Yes.
One of the biggest moneymakers we got in this whole city, Denny. You know what?
Really?
Yeah.
Does the IRS know about us?
Yes. We get audited every year.
Yeah, they audited us, what, this last year?
14 and 15.
Do you want to ask Bob some questions about that, you know, the income?
Looked like he
But-
ate $1,300.
We have opted to use Bill's Pizza. First of all, they're local, as opposed to buying frozen pizzas and buying the equipment to cook them ourselves. They'll buy them, have them delivered down there, and they sell them by the slice. And there is a fair profit margin in that, but I think it's good for
You
the
answered
community.
my question. Okay. I don't go swimming, so I didn't know they had pizza. We was lucky to get bubble gum when I went down there.
You're
See, Bob's upgraded
dating yourself. Did I hear a motion yet to approve the
I'll
claims?
make the motion.
Thank you.
Second it.
Motion from Laughlin, seconded by Grover. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next, Independence Police Department Officer Lau, if you would step forward, please.
Good evening. Just here to kind of give you an update. I came back from a couple weeks of vacation and I've kind of been playing catch up to the start of this month, kind of getting caught back up with things. I have noticed as a whole, though, we are looking really good. But I would like you guys to remind anybody that's in your ward to kind of be on the lookout and still call, because now that we're starting to move back into school and fall, there's going to be kind of a strong push on, again, junk properties and junk vehicles before the weather starts to turn on us, so we can kind of get that cleaned up and do one more hard push before the weather turns. And then next month, we'll start talking about fall activities as far as when the leaves start falling and other things like that to maintain our streets. But we are looking pretty good. I'm currently working a handful of properties still on junk properties, trying to get those finished up, and then moving on to the fall push for those.
Okay.
I didn't know if,
Does anybody have any questions?
Brian Brigman did a nice job when you were gone with some properties.
yes, he did, but I'm pretty sure he was glad that I came back. So I had quite the stack on my desk when I got back, so.
Anybody have any questions for Brian?
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Next, Independence Fire Department, Judd Taylor. Come forward, please.
Earlier, I passed out a map. Essentially, what this is our annual boot drive for the MDA. We do it every year. We'd like to do it on the 25th, which is next Friday. Times are from 5 to 9. I'm just requesting permission to be out there like we have in years past. We'll have vests on, cones set up to collect money for the MDA boot drive.
Okay. So we do actually have on the agenda a motion to waive section 42.08, fundraising for the City of Independence of Code ordinances for the purpose of the annual Independence Fire Department Boot Drive, August 25th, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Says,
Yes,
Right.
I'm sorry, yeah, 3 to 7.
okay,
Yep.
I'll make a motion.
thank you. Motion by Kurt, seconded by Vaughn. I need a roll call. Thank you for presenting.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Lennius,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Grover,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Hope you guys make lots of money.
I should point out, Judd was very modest about it. Our fire department is in the top, 10 or 15 in the state for the MDA fundraiser. People support them tremendously, and you guys do a great job with it, so thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Next, under hearings and ordinances, motion to receive and file and consider adopting the ordinance for the second time of Chapter 69, no parking, second reading for Second Street Southeast on the south side from 7th Avenue to the end of the street.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Kurtz, seconded by
I'll second it.
Vaughn. You need a roll call on this? Okay.
Hannah,
Yes.
Lenius,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Grover,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Okay, and you do have the option whether if you want to suspend the third final reading of that and have it passed as of tonight, if anybody is interested in making that motion,
No.
so it can go into effect quicker. No? Okay. All righty, it'll be back on the agenda for next month, or next meeting. Moving on, urban renewal. I need a motion to receive and file proof of publication for a notice of a public hearing in regards to proposed development agreement with Steve G. Construction Incorporated.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from O'Loughlin, second by Vaughn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Then I need a motion to actually hold the public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Grover, second by Lenius. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in public hearing for that particular issue. Did you get anything in writing, or?
I haven't been able to access my email since Thursday. Can't get in, so I haven't received anything
Okay.
as of Thursday.
Is there anybody out there that was wanting to speak to this particular issue with Steve G. Construction?
I'm a little concerned about.
If you do, you need to come forward, give us your name and address. Sorry.
Kurt Schertz. I live in that neighborhood, and several of the neighbors are a little concerned about what's actually gonna be built down there. If it's gonna be something that's, it sounds like low-income housing, and that really is not applicable for that neighborhood. I mean, most of those houses down in there are $200,000 to $500,000, and we're talking about putting low-income housing in down there? Is that right?
I don't believe so. Is there still more condos he's building? But he's also building houses,
I
but,
don't know, it says here, for TIF money, you have to have low-income housing, low to moderate income families.
Mayor, if I may clarify, there is a provision in state law that says if we are to provide tax increment financing or rebates, which would be the case in, a portion of the TIF proceeds must be set aside for low to moderate income housing. Has nothing to do with Mr. G's project. It is simply the state requirement that we set a portion of the TIF proceeds aside for low to moderate income housing projects someplace in the city at some time. Has nothing, again, to do with Mr. G's project in any way.
So that doesn't apply to this.
It very much applies to this, but it is not specific to his project. It's the increment incentive that is being addressed in the development agreement and the resolution supporting the development agreement.
have you
Okay.
talked to Steve G. to
No,
find out what he has
don't even
planned?
know him. I just
Oh,
was introduced or kind of sort of pointed out to me who he is.
The state code requires that we set a portion of the money that we collect under TIF financing aside.
I just got wind of this in the last couple of days, so.
yeah, because we have another one that we're doing that's across the street from Independence Construction that's also on our agenda for tonight,
Where's
similar.
that at?
In Olds Edition,
Oh, okay,
yeah. Jackson Edition, yeah.
okay.
Similar situation, but
So we're not looking at low-income housing down in there.
not to my knowledge, no.
That's all I had.
Is there anyone else out there? I know there's others that live in that area that's out there, if you would like to come forward. Would Steve like to come forward? No. If Steve G. is here, if you would like him to come forward, you could ask him some questions also. You just need to give us your name and address.
John Britton. I live out there at 801 Juniper Drive out there too. And I guess our next concern was
You know, because the way that covenant out there reads is that he can build condos on a corner lots, something which he's done, you know, but in that section there, he's talking about putting cul-de-sacs in. I already heard rumors that he was still gonna possibly build a couple condos there, which would be in a cul-de-sac, which doesn't go with our covenant, you know? So there is some concern about whether he's gonna continue building condos there or houses, you know? So I
Okay.
don't know, maybe Steve.
Would you like us to have him come forward?
So,
Just, you need to come forward, Steve.
I have no set plans yet of what I'm building there. I'm adding 3 lots at the end of the road, and there is nothing set in stone. But I will say that that is not any part of the covenants in the Pines. The covenants in the Pines specifically states out the specific lots that are in the Pines now, but it does not say anything beyond the end of the road. So if I wanted to, yes, I could build a condo there. It is R2, and it's gonna have its own covenants. So whatever I decide, or whatever we put in those covenants.
Because the cul-de-sacs you're talking about are at the end of Pine and Juniper? Those two cul-de-sacs? Okay. And what you're talking about that you could do is the
It's
next
at
street
the end of
over?
Juniper. It'd be
Oh, it's at the end of Juniper?
Be a cul-de-sac there, but it's not necessarily gonna be a cul-de-sac, because it is set up that we can extend the road continuing on to the west if we want to. If the.
The end of
city deems
Juniper
something-
can be extended?
Yes, if somebody were to buy the cornfield to the west, from Lynn, or if, Lynn or whoever owns it now decides to extend it out, then they could extend the road out. I mean, it's not being put in as a cul-de-sac for that reason, so that it can be extended out in the future.
The preliminary plat shows a turnaround there, which we'd have required for emergency vehicle use primarily, but it is not a structured cul-de-sac at the end of Juniper. It's easy for us to look at it and call it a cul-de-sac the way it's laid out, but that's not what's in the preliminary plat.
Okay. Did you have any other questions for Steve since he's here? Those of you that do not know, this is Steve G. He is the construction person. He's my landlord.
I do want to make a couple of corrections for you. Steve was able to get us some updated numbers for his development. So the resolution that you have, as well as the draft development agreement, there is a forgivable loan to the developer. In your development agreement, it shows $131,000. That should read $136,000, not to exceed $136,000. That's the actual cost of the water and sewer main extensions. And then the total amount above the forgivable loan should read not to exceed $60,000. That's based on the 40% of infrastructure cost. So whatever the total infrastructure cost, 40% of that is what we have agreed to do for tax rebate or tax incentive. Again, that number should say 60, or not to exceed 60,000. Based on the engineer estimates, Steve has actually gotten quotes for his development project. His total incentive would go from 171 to 194 based on the actual quotes that he has to put it in.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Then I need a motion to close the hearing and to receive and file oral and written comments.
Got it.
Motion from Vaughn, seconded by
I'll second it.
O'Laughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Thank you. And we're moving on to the resolution, a motion to approve a development agreement with Steve G. Construction Incorporated, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Lennius, seconded by
I'll second it.
by Grover. Any other discussion? Then a roll call, please.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Grover,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Lenius.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Now we almost do this again with different names. I need a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing for a proposed development agreement with Independence Construction Incorporated.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Grover, seconded by O'Laughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. I now need a motion to hold the public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Who did I hear that from? Okay, motion from Grover, seconded by
I'll second it.
Vaughn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in public hearing in regards to this particular development agreement. Is there anybody out there that wanted to speak to that?
Just so everybody's on the same page, this falls under the same state rules, 39.6% or whatever the percentage of the tax increment received from the property must be set aside by the city for an LMI eligible project. The only thing I should have mentioned earlier, we have coming at our next meeting, or I anticipate having at our next meeting, a plan for using these LMI funds for a down payment assistance program. Again, I didn't put it on this agenda tonight because I don't have the plan formulated, and I thought it was more appropriate to bring you the full plan as opposed to the concept. But we do have currently some money setting in that fund from past projects over the last, I suppose, 5 or 6 years, 8 years, whatever it's been. But the money is required to be held by the city until an eligible project or projects are found.
Okay.
You know, I think in fairness to Kurt and the others, I think that maybe we should explain LMI a little bit, you know, the rules of it, and, you know, how, maybe not exact income levels, but there are some, there's some structure to it that, you know, maybe it would make them feel more comfortable.
What I can, I mean, just off the cuff, low to moderate income housing rules say that a family of 4 have to make $57,000 and change or less to be eligible to benefit from these funds. The funds can be used for, as we've discussed, a down payment assistance program. They can be used for housing rehab. We could put the money toward a low to moderate income housing project, apartments, what have you. The money can only be spent on those projects that would benefit people within those income guidelines. The rates are set by HUD, by the federal government, for each section of the community, or excuse me, each section of the country. We have nothing to do with the income levels. We can only spend the money where it's authorized, if you will, by HUD guidelines. But it's not a low-income housing project per se. It's the people that we're trying to assist with, you know, housing needs that fit within those income guidelines.
So in conjunction with this, somebody could build an LMI house theoretically on the Jackson Green or Steve G's, as long as it meets the criteria? With the assistance too, with the down payment assistance?
Theoretically, yes. There was a housing project a few years ago that where the money came from, I think there was a state program that was put together.
The 25,000 over 5 years?
You know, I don't remember it was pre-Al, so I'm not sure what the numbers were, but the state said there's so much per family. If you meet the LMI guidelines, they would put them into a house with down payment assistance. The 25,000 or whatever it was forgiven over a number of years that they stayed there. If you drove through the community, you would not know those houses from other houses.
No.
I mean, it's not the quality of construction. It's not even the quality of the people, it's the program that we use to help people establish equity in homes or establish, repair homes so that they have a place that's safe and efficient to live in. So, again, it's not a housing project, a low-income housing project. I understand the concern. And so I don't want anybody to think I didn't hear you. I did hear you, but that's not what this is designed for specifically. There's a lot of different ways to use it. And it has been used in Independence in different ways. So.
Anyone else that wants to speak to this while we're still in public hearing?
I think the other thing you have to understand on the low to moderate income housing, people that qualify for that, if they were to move or sell that home before, what is it, 5 years? Or is it 10 years? That they have to pay back part of that.
It depends on the, I mean, it's flexible depending on what we want to do in our community. The most common is 5 years. I've seen them as much as 7. 10 would be on the strong end, but that's also a possibility. We can set that forgivable portion up, John, at whatever length we want to with our funds as it pertains to LMI. The federal government has used 5 and 7. I guess those are the two I'm the most common with. But they have to stay there. They have to use it. They can't take advantage of the funds, turn around, sell the property, make a profit, and enjoy the forgivable loan at the same time. I mean, they have to stay in the house and build the equity.
Right.
Don't the houses have to somewhat look different? If there's houses out there between $200,000 and $500,000, and then you're gonna build a low to moderate income for, what, $150,000 probably tops?
No, there's several.
I mean, they do a nice job and everything, and there's a need for it, but.
Well, that's not necessarily what's being built out there, though. It's just, we have to set aside from the TIF revenue we gain from these houses that he's building out there, we have to set aside, what was it, 39.6%?
Yeah, 39.21.
39.21%
That.
is set aside, yes.
So we have to set aside that much of what we get in the TIF funding.
The program that was used in the city previously, and I'll get the numbers wrong because it predates me and I apologize in advance, but if somebody's building a $185,000 or $190,000 house 5 years ago, that would be not far off of your $200,000 house today. And the people that qualified under LMI guidelines are living in those houses today. You know, so if you go around and look at the community, are you going to identify those houses? Are there, I mean, clearly there's a difference between 200,000 and 500,000. But, you know, the difference between 180 and 250, you might be hard pressed to find that. I mean, not saying that you aren't better at you know, driving by and looking at this, you know, down the streets than I am, but we want quality construction. We want a safe place to live. But there's things that can be done to make this affordable for people to live in and give them the opportunity to build the equity. And that's the key to it. And I mean, and again, we're getting off track. That's a discussion that we have to have. But as it relates to these projects, you know, we're not putting up.
They're very nice homes. You can drive through my neighborhood out
Oh, I know
there,
they're nice homes, and there's a great need for it.
and you can't really tell that much difference between mine and some of the ones that qualified for this plan several years ago. You know, they're very nice homes. I strongly support the program.
Any other questions, comments? Then I will ask for a motion to close the hearing and to receive and file oral and written comments.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from O'Laughlin, second by Kurtz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to a motion to approve a development agreement with Independence Construction Incorporated, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledge certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Grover, seconded by
I'll second.
O'Laughlin. Any other discussion? Then I ask for a roll call, please.
Grover,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Lenius,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next is public hearing on the proposed designation of the 2017 Gator Manufacturing Urban Renewal Area and on urban renewal plan. I need a motion to receive and file proof of publication of the notice of public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Kurt, second by Vaughn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. I now need a motion to hold the public hearing.
Got it.
Motion by Vaughn, second by Grover. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in public hearing in regards to the proposed Gator Manufacturing Urban Renewal Project. Anyone out there wanting to speak to that? Any comments or questions from the council? Nothing was received since you don't have your email, okay?
I haven't gotten anything since Thursday.
Is the purpose of this basically the same as the previous two for infrastructure and?
No, this one will be a little bit different. First of all, the public hearing that we're in right now is required by Chapter 403 of the Iowa Code. We must amend the tax increment district that Gator Manufacturing resides in to allow us to enter into a TIF rebate agreement, which is coming, there'll be another public hearing on that. This simply amends that urban renewal district to allow us to enter into a TIF rebate agreement if we so choose.
If we amend that, then do we have to take another district out in order to?
No, what you're doing, the amendment to the agreement is adding, Gator is already within that district. The amendment gives us permission to enter into another agreement with them if we so chose. I can't make that determination for you yet tonight, but the state is making all of our TIF districts go through an amendment every time we're going to enter into a TIF agreement. You've noticed how many of these that we have. We had, for both of our projects that we just approved the development agreements on, we went through the same process to amend the TIF district for them. The difference with them is because it was housing, we actually removed it from a TIF district and created their own TIF districts. We're not doing that with this one, but state code still requires you to amend the district, basically acknowledging that they're in there and that we are considering a tax increment financing project with them. It's their way of saying you have to jump through a lot of hoops to make sure you really want to do this.
I think they just try to confuse me. Well, hearing no other comments, I will ask for a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral and written comments. Hear a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from O'Laughlin, second by Grover. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. I now need a motion to receive, file, and consider adopting the resolution.
You got it.
Motion by Vaughn, seconded by
I'll second it.
Grover.
This resolution, if I, I don't mean to interrupt you, this resolution sets the time and date for public hearing for a development agreement with Gator Manufacturing. This is a development agreement not to exceed $90,000 as our local match to state financing. They have been awarded a state grant, which requires a local participation. This would be our local participation for that. And again, it's simply setting the date for the public hearing to consider that.
Are we setting the date on the next step?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Under F?
I'm one ahead of myself.
This
Yes,
one
I'm
is-
sorry.
This is adopting the resolution of the renewal area.
I
urban
apologize,
renewal
Mayor.
plan. Okay.
I got excited.
Trying to get me confused. I didn't hear a motion or a second on that
Yeah,
one.
you have
Did
Vaughn
we?
and Grover. Roll call.
Okay. So it's all those in favor say aye?
Oh, no.
No?
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Hellenius.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
And Grover.
Yes.
We didn't have roll call after this one, sorry. Moving on now, a motion to approve a resolution setting the date of meeting for August 28th, 2017 for proposed development agreement with Gator Manufacturing, machining and manufacturing, including annual appropriation tax increment payments.
So moved.
Motion by Kurt, seconded by
I'll second it.
O'Laughlin. Roll call, please.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Hellenius.
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Grover,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Moving on, under resolutions, Well House Rehabilitation Contract Award. We do have our engineer here, if you would like him to come forward and speak on this.
Good evening, council, and just want to double check, since email was down, did the bid evaluation letter get distributed to council?
It is in your agenda packet.
Sounds very good. We did receive bids last Thursday, August 10th, for the well house rehabilitation project. The city did receive one bid from general contractor, WRH Incorporated, otherwise known as Wendler Construction from South Amana. The total base bid project was $578,000. The engineer's estimate for the scope that we bid was $440,000, so it was about a 30% overrun. Obviously, with one bidder, it's a little bit hard to look at where some of the costs might have overrun, so, just a little bit of lack of competition. We did extend the bid period by 1 week, try and generate additional interest, and we did see significant number of plan holders were added in that time frame. However, we were unable to generate any additional general contractors interested in submitting a bid. Given the interest that's out there, we do not believe that rebidding the project with the same scope would provide any cost savings to the city, so therefore we would not recommend rebidding the project unless it's bid with a different scope. So with that in mind, the city essentially has two options. One would be to reject the bids and then look at trying to develop a different scope to try and rebid the project, be it a reduced scope or trying to do one well house at a time. One of the challenges of that is some of the chlorine equipment, which is safety. It's a safety issue, particularly in the parks. That does affect the roofing. It does affect the controls, and it's a little bit difficult, and it's somewhat integrated on the process to try and do one at a time. There's going to be a little bit of wasted effort trying to separate those out. It could be done. So just want to caution the council that it may not be quite as seamless and easy to break those into individual projects. Trying to reduce the scope might be a little bit of watered down savings because this is already a fairly small project with limited interest. And we try to make it a smaller project, it may be a case of we have zero interest from the general contractors. The other option is to award the bid and proceed with the improvements as designed and as bid. The well houses are in poor condition. There is a need to upgrade the well houses, both in general maintenance, along with the safety equipment for the chlorine, the fluoride equipment, which is partially functional, partially not functional. It's been a deferred need for the city for many years, so the option would be to proceed with that. We would recommend, based on the condition, based on the need, based on the difficulty of trying to reduce the scope any further or break it apart, we would recommend to council to consider awarding the project, the base bid project for $578,000. I'd like to discuss a couple other bid options that were in the bid. Well house number 8, which was the MHI well, we bid that as an add item. Since the city has had issues with that and it was not operational, we went out for bids, we bid that as an add item, such that we could add that in if it turns out that it looks positive that well can be a long-term source for the city. The recent efforts that have been made have not been successful. The water quality of that well is very poor. That's native to the well. It's very difficult for a well driller you can't really fix what's in the ground. So I guess our recommendation would be to reject that add item and actually to consider essentially mothballing well number 8 and keeping that either as emergency backup or potentially even sealing it and totally taking it out of the system. I guess it's improved water quality ever since it's been offline is what I'm hearing, and what I understand of the water quality issues is those are probably not resolvable. Next was a deduct item number 1, which was regarding the fluoride safety equipment. It does require a drench shower and eye wash, and those are by code supposed to be tempered water, which is heated up to 70 to 80 degrees. If we do the full drench shower and eye wash, that's a fairly large and onerous electrical water heater, instantaneous. So we did bid as an alternate just doing a smaller eye wash just for the eye wash. The deduct would be to step down just to the eye wash. Based on discussions with staff, we would recommend accepting that deduct for $8,700. The second deduct item is for the architectural work at the well houses, and that would be primarily the roofing, the flashing, and doors on well houses 3, 4, 6, and 7. That would deduct was $45,000. That doesn't take away the need to redo the roofing and redo the doors, but that would be then done by city forces versus having the contractor do that. What the city has found out is the doors are older hollow steel frame doors, which traditionally were filled with concrete back in the day before spray foam insulation was common. So efforts to try and remove those have been fairly unsuccessful so far. The other challenge with that is the timing. If the general contractor is working on the project, city staff, it would be incumbent on them to meet the general contractor's schedule and have the roofing ready to go as a general contractor proceeds, which in fall, as the city forces get fairly busy with other items, would be a little bit of challenge on that. And lastly, there's a warranty issue of whose fault is it if should there ever be a little bit of a roof leak around flashing or around a vent. Is it the general contractors or is it the city's labor that did that? So for that reason, we would recommend not accepting the deduct number 2 for $45,000. However, we would possibly looking at a revised architectural scope and discussing that with contractor after the bid is awarded and looking at some ways to try and reduce some of the architectural costs on those well houses, which would be prudent to do after award. We've had some discussions possibly going with a sloped steel roof versus the flat rubber membrane roofs, but we'll engage the contractor at a later date on that if council desired. So I guess in summary, our recommendation would be to award the contract to WRH Incorporated for a net total of $569,300, which would be accepting deduct item number 1 and rejecting add item number 1 and rejecting add item or deduct item number 2. Any questions from council?
I'm new to this game. I came on in March, but I find it hard to believe that you can only, for $500 and some thousand, that either it's too piecemeal based on what you've put forth for the contractors, or I don't know. It boggles my mind because I'm a teacher, but I also do other things too, and I work with some of these people, and I have friends and engineers, so forth, and I can't imagine that this 30% increase, while at the same time taking out the $45,000 for the roofs and doors is, my feeling would be to rebid it.
The two things, and
You go ahead. We discussed this in the finance meeting, but you go ahead. You're probably better at it.
Councilman Hill is not able to be here, and he did send his comments.
I read it.
Just so that you have those, and he asked me to make sure that you had a copy of that. The one thing is, we've kind of beat this project up, well, for a year and a half now, looking at what can we change, how do we modify the scope, increase it, decrease it, eliminate what parts, and quite honestly, we've taken out, I don't remember the numbers now, $100,000, Denny, of piping, I think it was, that we were going to replace that's been removed. We took out,
That was 20,000 per well, I thought.
yeah.
There was a lot of that repiping.
Yeah, well, if you take $20,000 out of the project per well, and a year ago when we made the tour, you was telling me on one hand that we couldn't use this continuous flow water heater. Well, I got him along the side and I asked him, I said, it's too bad we can't use the continuous flow water heater for about $3,000 less money. Oh, he said we could do that. So what's changed about that? How come we can't use that today?
You're saying the continuous flow?
Yeah.
Or the project includes a
Hot
instantaneous.
water on demand.
Yes, it contains an on-demand water heater for the eye wash, which is a couple gallons a minute.
Right.
That works, and that is what the deduct item would use. Looking at for the drench shower, which is over 20 gallons a minute, which is a 15 minutes of heat. You're either looking at a very, very large tank of hot water and keeping that warm, which is space limited and also just an energy inefficient. So again, but instantaneous at that large size becomes a difficult difficult heater to proceed with because that is just such a large instantaneous water heater, so.
I just talked to a guy that's running a car wash with one of those, and I can't imagine any demand we'd have at one of these that would be any more than a car wash. And he went with the high dollar one, he has $2,000 invested in that one.
And both alternatives had the instantaneous water heaters.
Okay.
Part of the expected upgrade that we thought we would see on the base bid is the electrical demand instantaneous is higher, and just the service size on a couple of well houses had to be upgraded to accommodate that. The water heater itself, as you point out, is not necessarily the highest cost of that, but there's some of the dominant.
Eliminate the MHI, that there's right off the line, and then you pretty much gotta eliminate the one up to the light plant, because that's contained in a building. So there wouldn't be any roof or any doors, or, if you're talking about fluoride and the chlorine pumps, I've checked on them, they're about $500 or $600 a piece. So there's $1,200 times 4, whatever the roof costs, times 3, and we're nowhere close to $600,000 here. Nowhere close to it. So that's all I got against it. It just looks like it's completely astronomically out of proportion. That's what it looks like. And I'd even forgot about taking that well, or that pipe out of there for $20,000 per well. So what's left? Paint job? I'm gonna start painting these things if you're getting that much money for painting.
The piping was removed, the paint was largely removed because most of the paint was the special epoxy paint that they use for the pipes.
Right.
So that went away. There's still some paint involved on the walls and ceilings, if I'm not mistaken. There's still some piping that has to be removed and addressed, not removed, replaced and addressed, because we have to add the chlorine and fluoride pumps and scales and some of those, the metering equipment, I guess is what it is that's in there. We can go wherever the council wants to. I guess my only point is, for the last 18 months, we've kind of beat the daylights out of this, and I'm not sure, to rebid it in good conscience, you're gonna have to look at what part of the scope are we changing. If we want to rebid it just to get a better number, well, I'll tell you that from my experience, the number's either gonna go up or you aren't gonna have anybody, because you had one. To rebid it just for the sake of, we don't like that bid, I don't think is gonna work, in my opinion.
Well, in my opinion, I'd like to speak to some of the other contractors that looked at it and declined. That would be my recommendation, that would be my best interest of the city. What components here, was it cost, was it the inefficiency or the difficulty in performing it? You know, are you gonna be babysitting a group of contractors through this? You know, what is the problem?
Per well house, what do you got in, where do you come up with these numbers per well house?
The discussion I had with the contractors, looks like about 40% of the cost is electrical and controls related. Beyond that, he hasn't given a detailed breakout of what's included in his cost as far as materials, labor, overhead, and markup.
We definitely need the breakdown of that
Yes.
$578,000.
And typically-
before we vote. Know what we're spending it on, because that's a big chunk of money.
That's a very large chunk of money for no more than we're getting there. Per square foot, those will probably be the highest priced buildings in the state of Iowa.
It would be your drinking water that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a small thing that we're dealing with. I know the
No.
buildings aren't real big. The implications are pretty serious.
Oh, and I stand by that too. I agree with you on that.
Well, in all fairness, I think we've really, infrastructure across the nation is a problem. You can look at Flint, Michigan and all the hoopla over that. And we've already experienced a horrible situation out at MHI, and we need to try and stop the bleeding, I think. And we've got to do what we can to get these things back online, because we've got a sewer plant that's going to need some rehab here shortly, too. And no, it's not cheap, but there's city councils that have kicked the can down the road for a long time and did nothing. And I think it's up our obligation to try and do something.
You know, and along with what John says, and we talked about this quite a bit at length with the engineers and ourselves at the Finance Committee meeting. You know, so that you know, we did, Denny, Deb and I mean, and granted, we took a look, none of us understand the electrical part or some of the others. The piping, yeah, we were kind of, thought we did, you know, the roof and this and that. I'm not really, I don't care whether we rebid it. I don't think rebidding is gonna make a bit of difference. And in fact, I think it could probably, if I was a contractor, I'd, you know, see through that one. If we decide to de-spec it, I mean, all we're gonna do is get what we pay for on that, take out stuff, and, you know, if
Oh,
our
I don't
goal
wanna
is
see
to get
anything.
it to
I don't wanna
400,000 or 300,000, let's just say that's what we wanna do, but we're gonna leave Mark in a lurch for, you know, the next how many years, and we're doing exactly like John said, is we're doing what councils in the past have done with the streets and everything else, is kick a can down the road. I mean, I don't like to see us spend $600,000 on it either.
I don't want to kick the can down the road, and I don't want to de-spec it. I want to meet the criteria that's set forth as what we need. But I also want to find out why it's such that we can't get more than one bidder on this. What are the components? What's the criteria? What needs to be done that these people are unwilling or unable to do within the parameters of this bid?
I guess as the engineering firm, as Al, you know, if there's a way that legally you can talk to other contractors, say what it is, I mean, you guys knock yourself out on that one.
Yeah, where we're at right now, you either accept or reject the bid. I mean, you're not going to go out and talk to other contractors at this point. That would be illegal.
If we reject the bid, it's not.
If you reject the bid, there's other things that you can do.
Correct.
I totally agree. But what are we going to change in the bid to change that? I'm not sure, and I'd look to Carter as to if we're going to reject the bid and not change the scope of the project, what are our options at that point?
Well, you reject the bid, and you could start from scratch, or you could not start from scratch and just put the thing back out, or it's really the council's call how they want to proceed once they reject the bids. And maybe the option is to do nothing, like you suggested that you've done for the last X amount of years. But you know, it's a political decision you have to make. What you do is totally up to you as a council.
How many plan holders are there? I mean, you have a listing of how many people took out plans.
Yes. There are about 15 plan holders total. Excluding the engineer copies. Of that, 2 were listed as being general contractors. Locally Siegfried and WRH. That doesn't mean that they're the ones that looked at it. They're the ones that actually download the plans to look at them further. They're all available on some of the public information sites, the builders exchanges, et cetera. So contractors are able to take a look at that and get a feel for what the scope is and get a feel for what the magnitude of the project is before they decide if they want to download the plans or not. So I'm unsure how many contractors may have looked at it and considered it and decided not to pursue it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to be when we started, you as an engineer had a plan for us to repair all of our well houses. And then as a council, we started nitpicking that apart, that we were going to do certain parts of it ourselves, or we were going to have the light plant do parts of it, and we started nitpicking it and tearing it apart. And from all of that and all these months what this has gone by and putting us at danger with OSHA violations and our drinking water, we're down to where we're at now. And out of all the contractors, only one came forward to do this. I don't see how we're going to change that by not accepting this bid. I don't think nobody's going to come out of the woods to do this for as much as we've done to this project from the beginning of tearing it apart and nitpicking it. You're not going to gain anything by letting this go. You're going to end up having well houses that aren't working, putting staff members at risk, and affecting our drinking water. And I, for one, do not want that affected.
I don't either, but you know, scare tactics are about the most effective way to get your way around here, it seems like.
Scare tactics of having only one person bid it?
No, laying all the maybes out there that could happen if we reject this. How about if we just put our heads together, and I thought we'd done this at one time before, is got some of the stuff eliminated, like the roof and all that stuff. We could hire local contractors for that.
Denny,
We tried getting the light plant to do the electrical part on it, and Al come up with more. He was running interference. He ought to be a football player. He was running interference on that, something terrible. He come up with more rules and regulations and
Okay, you guys, Denny,
things to do.
they said they can't do it.
Right, the light plant.
They
is
couldn't,
saying-
no, they couldn't do it with all the handcuffs that was put on them. No, I agree.
There were no handcuffs. The only handcuffs that have been put on has been put on the engineer when you started nitpicking his plans and following what you hired him to
We were just
do.
trying to get the price down there where it was
And-
somewhat
and-
reasonable. We're talking about 3-4 well houses with those fluoride pumps and chlorine pumps for about $1,000 apiece. That's a far cry from $500,000.
But what you're presenting out to the public and to all the people who are going to bid on this is how you're nitpicking anything coming out from what the engineers are doing. I think you did this to yourselves of getting it down to the point that you only had one bidder. And yes, if he's the only bidder, he's going to come in high. I can't say that I would blame him if he's a good businessman. He's going to do that because of where we've dealt with this and how we've presented this to the public and to the engineers and to the contractors. We did this to ourselves. Now, you have a choice to turn this down and end up not fixing our well houses and see how long that goes, or till we have the first accident with an employee that ends up being overcome by the fumes that's in those well houses and stuff, or getting this done and see if we can't negotiate with this contractor. We've already discussed issues that we can do, but we can't unless we accept the bid before we can even look at cutting some costs and things to that degree.
I think we should
That's
have
where
a,
we're at.
I think we should have a lengthy conversation here about how Al ran interference and handcuffed the light plant's ability to provide a service to us. I'm intrigued by this, and I would like to hear more.
I just got bits and pieces of it too, but I heard from the higher echelon at the light plant that you did do that.
Was
You-
it
you
Mr.
said we-
Lockman?
I want to hear,
First,
I want to hear who specifically, Denny?
All right, Kevin.
Kevin told you that I handcuffed his ability to do it.
That was my words, not his.
Okay.
He said that you put up more rules and regulations. In other words, you had to be like a private contractor, if I remember right.
I never
You
said
know,
it
this
had,
has been a year ago. We don't even remember this.
I never said it had to be a private contractor.
Yeah, but he had to meet the same requirements as a private contractor.
Where we,
Finally, he said, you know, you've created enough rules and regulations that I'm just not gonna do it.
You know something? Hey,
We can't do it.
Denny, I think before we start dragging other people into this and saying what they said, if we're gonna do that, I think, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I think it's a mistake to reject it. But let's just go ahead and reject it and have a workshop or something, and we can go all the way back to the very beginning, and we can go through this line by line. I don't think we're gonna get it for $10,000, Denny, but,
You're not
you
gonna
know,
save it
we can do that. But I think it's absolutely wrong that we start talking about what somebody else in a leadership role said.
Would it
And
be
I don't
wiser-
think we should do that on TV. I don't think we ought to do it at all.
No.
No.
But I think let's just, I
really
don't
didn't
care.
like it.
Let's just vote on it.
Can we,
Let's just vote.
My concern is the 30% markup, you know.
Hey,
Don't you want to see the breakdown of the 578,000 of what it is?
we can do that. We can do
Yeah,
it again. I
I'm
mean, we've
asking
already
her.
done it once.
Well,
We-
Mike
we
hasn't seen
did
it, and we haven't seen it for a year.
Yeah, let's
Is that a
just,
problem to get that?
Can I
Well,
ask?
Do you have that?
Breakdown is from the bidder.
let's
Can I
just,
request
let's
if we
just
just
vote
table
on it
this?
and get the whole thing done and have a special meeting, a workshop or something, and then we can go through this with the people who I just think it's absolutely wrong that we bring up what somebody else has said.
He
At a
forced
council
my hand
meeting.
on it.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he
You
did.
just
Okay,
don't
stop.
do that.
Stop
I
right
just
now.
don't think we do it, Denny.
Stop.
So I think I would recommend we don't talk anymore about
Do
what
we have a
somebody
motion on
said.
this at all, Gina? Okay.
Can I request we just table it until after we have a meeting where we can actually discuss it, not on camera, so the entire public isn't sitting there thinking we're all
Did
just
we not
battling for
discuss
votes.
this last Monday?
That'll hear of it?
Was this
They
not
are
on
more
our
than welcome to
meeting
come
of
to
the
it.
whole?
To a
It was not at the committee of the whole. The bid was pushed back a week to give the contractors additional time to put in bids because we were not
Getting any
getting enough
responses.
plan holders out there, and so the engineer recommended we put it back a week. The bids were open last Thursday. No, they did not come to a committee of the whole. You have the right to, I think the bid is good for 30 days.
Correct.
So we took bids in last Thursday. You have 30 days. You've got some time if you wanted to go through it. I'm not sure that the contractor is likely to give you a detailed breakdown, but John, I think it would be fair to ask him for it.
Ask the contractor.
And,
But I
schedule of
question any
values.
legality we have of contacting any other contractors and asking their opinions on this when it's still hanging out in the balance and we have a bid that needs to be decided upon.
Yeah,
I think
we're not
we'd be
gonna talk-
violating some laws,
Right.
trying to go out and talk to other people to see why nobody else bid it.
Yep, that would be correct. You're dead right, Mayor.
So the best we're going to do is be able to get an itemized thing from the one person who did bid it as to where they came up with $580,000.
That shouldn't be a problem, should it?
No, I can put the request in to find out where their prices, their breakout is.
Yeah, because that's quite a disparity between 440,000 and 578,000.
I don't disagree, and I didn't,
I mean, how was the calculation done for 440,000 based on?
we had essentially a unit price breakout, which I know the council even at that point had, thought the unit prices we had in there were significantly overpriced, and that was based on what we saw as our experience on bidding projects. And so I know earlier meetings, I probably took some heat for, the council thought I had them too high. And unfortunately, as it turned out, I actually had, the prices due to factors or lack of competition actually were ended up being lower than what the actual prices are, so.
In the realm of things, this is not a big project for contractors.
For a general contractor, this is a fairly small project, which,
And if they're busy on other things, they're not going to bid on a small one.
Small project, but big
It's,
price.
it might sound big to us, but to them it doesn't, so.
Can we do can we just table it? Or do we vote to?
Does that need to be in a more motion, or can we just
Yeah, you have to make a motion to table it.
A motion to table it.
to
I'll second
next meeting? Next,
Carter's biting his lip.
because
trying
we've
to
got,
figure out-
we've got
we can
30
do this?
days that
It
this
would-
is only
You
good
can
for.
table it. I'm just trying to think through where I'm struggling is, I can't recall whether there's a motion and a second. I still think you need to take the vote on tabling it,
Yes, you do.
so,
And it would be default to later in this meeting or to the next regular meeting.
yeah. That's why I was biting.
Because we have to do it within 30 days, this needs to come back up.
Yeah. Yeah, otherwise it's gonna die because the bid's gonna be dead.
Expire.
Yep. So is your motion strictly to table it, or to table it to the next meeting,
Table
or
it till
to?
the next meeting.
Okay, and your second to that? Do you need a roll call, or can I do this all in
Did
favor?
you say Lenius was the second?
Lanius was the second.
I think you better do a roll call since I
Okay.
think you're gonna have a split vote.
Hannah?
Yes.
Lenius?
Now he's starting to make me think it's a trick deal. We had one of those about 4 years ago where we couldn't figure out whether it was a trick.
No, I'm not trying to make it sound like a trick. It just sounds like you guys might have a dispute about whether you want to table it.
I'll vote yes to table it.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Grover,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Okay, it is tabled to the next meeting. And all we need is to get a list to have him itemize out more where his
We'll work on that.
580,000.
Please.
And get that to us as soon as possible so we can actually address this and come to a decision.
Sounds good?
I think we've let it go long enough as it is.
When you visit with them, would you ask them if they'd have their representative here for our next meeting as well?
Yes, surely can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next on the agenda, a motion to approve a resolution approving a loan agreement and providing for the issuance of general police vehicle acquisition note. This is for the loan for our police vehicle.
This is the loan for the police vehicle. You approved us entering into a general obligation note not to exceed $35,000 at a previous meeting. The actual note is for just over $19,000 because we will make the first of the 3 annual payments out of our current budget, reducing the need for borrowing more money. So it's in essence, a 2-year note at $19,000.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Kurtz, seconded by Grover. Roll call, please.
Hannah,
Yes.
Lenius.
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Grover,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. Next on the agenda is resolution to assess property owners for Chapter 52 mowing, failure to comply. Do I
This
hear a
is our
motion?
ongoing list.
Yeah, I think this is our third time because we got more people that aren't mowing their yards.
There's a lot of repeaters.
You'll notice that the fines are $300 instead of $200. They do go up $100 per offense over the course of the summer.
Okay. Did I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Kurtz.
I'll second it.
Seconded by O'Laughlin. Roll call, please.
Lenius,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Grover,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to approve the reclassification of Parks and Recreation Superintendent 3 position to an exempt Assistant Director position and approve the job description creating such a position.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Kurtz,
I'll second.
second from O'Laughlin. Roll call, please.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Grover,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Lenius.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. Next is a motion to create the position of part-time patrol officer, approving the job description and authorizing 3 such positions. This was discussed at our meeting of the whole. Do I hear a motion?
Do we have reserves that can fill in for that at all?
With our department, we currently have 2 reserves. The only problem with the reserve is they're not a certified officer. When it comes to an OWI, they cannot do the implied consent. And then also as a reserve, they cannot work on their own. So if it is a shift that there's nobody working, I can't put him in that place because there's nobody there to be with him. The reserves have to have another officer working the same time they are.
Okay. What hourly wage do we plan on paying them?
That is set by the union contract. I don't have a choice in that one. It's a little over, around $20 an hour, somewhere over that, just a little over that.
And is there money in your budget this year to do this?
Well, the money in the budget, instead of paying the overtime for the officers, it'd be paying the part-timers. So,
Yes.
It'll actually save us money.
yes.
Yeah. I'll make a motion.
Motion from Lenius, seconded
Second.
by Kurtz. Roll call, please.
Grover,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Lenius.
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. New business, motion to approve the RV park electrical upgrade funding plan. I think you received a mapping from the light plant as to how to do this in, what, 3 sections or something?
They gave us a plan for doing the whole thing, but Kevin did break it down into 3 phases, which we would recommend that we look at 3 phases. I don't know if you want to approve the overall plan over 3 years, or if you want to be more specific and identify specifically which phase first. But from a staff perspective, we recommend doing it over a 3-year period, the first one coming in our current fiscal year. It will require a budget amendment, as there is not a spending authorization in the current budget to do this. You'll see that the smallest section is roughly $10,500. And you know, there's another 13,000, and I think there's a $17,000 phase. But again, we'd recommend doing it beginning in this fiscal year and doing it over 3 years.
How much was this year, Al?
Well, it depends on which phase you want to do first. My recommendation would be doing the yellow phase first. That brings the most sites, most camping sites up to the 50 amp service, and that seems to be the demand. That is roughly 13,000. And the only magic to that is we affect the greatest number of camping sites with that phase.
I think what we should do, rather than approve an annual plan, I think we ought to approve a 3-year plan and do it, you know, in thirds, so that the plan is out there for future councils or for, you know.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't mean to misspeak. Yes, I think we should approve doing this, but I'm asking your approval to do the upgrade over 3 years. And I didn't know if you had strong feelings about selecting which one comes first, or if you want to just give us permission to do it, understanding that we're going to do it over 3 years.
I think.
My only thought was if we did the east side, which is the most popular side, because it's in the trees, it's further away from the highway.
What's your thought on that, Bob?
Yeah, I'd let Bob decide, or have input.
Oh, there he is.
He's hiding right there. I see.
I don't blame.
Trying to hide. You know, really, it doesn't matter. I think affecting the most is probably the most worthwhile. You get a quicker payback on that. But eventually, you're gonna have to do all 3 phases. So really, you know, the east side is very popular, but I have a lot of people who like the west side too. So really, there's no opinion. I mean, if you want to affect the most campsites the first time, do that yellow phase. What's that?
Will you increase the rental?
Yeah, there's a difference between the 30 amp and the 50 amp
So
now.
if
So,
if
yep.
we do the section that covers more spots,
Right, yep.
that would increase the
Yes,
income.
yeah. I mean, eventually, you're gonna have to do the other 2, so it's not gonna make that big of a difference.
Yeah.
But if you start off with the most sites, it probably makes the most sense.
Okay. I hear a motion
I
for
make a
this?
motion. We
Motion from O'Laughlin, seconded by,
I'll second it.
from Grover. Roll call, please.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Linda.
Yes. Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Grover.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried.
I'm gonna have to start mixing these up.
Mike was all
You
over
should
that.
do that. I kind of jumped the gun.
I
on
could
that.
say, go crosswise instead of in order, that'll throw them off. Okay, next on the agenda is a motion to donate the City of Independence eye signs to the Independence Community School District. I believe there's 3 of them still out there.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Kurt, seconded by
I'll second it.
O'Laughlin. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Third item is a motion to approve a utility easement agreement with E. Donnelly.
Why is the city paying for this?
Because it's our pool that we're protecting.
But it should have been moved over 15 feet if we needed this extra 15 feet, so somebody seemed to screw up the engineer, the contractor, or somebody.
Well, it's not just the 15 feet for the utility easement. If you take a look at it, we're also protecting that entire hillside, which, if you took a look at what happened this spring, we ended up with quite a bit of mud in the pool that came down that hillside. There's a concern there that goes quite a bit further into that property. If I were going to point fingers, maybe we as a city should have bought that entire lot and controlled all of it right from the beginning, but I'm
Well,
not
and I
sure
think
we
it
felt
actually started quite a while ago when the school actually owned it and their contractor was going to fill a little bit to eliminate some of that. The problem is if they filled where the pool is currently, we couldn't build a pool. I mean, no one's gonna wanna build a pool on fill, kinda like building a house on fill. So that's one reason that remains so low. So we have quite a height differential. The other problem is, you know, we wanna make sure that we control how much water actually comes from that property. If you look at it, it all slopes to us, from the north to the south. So by kind of putting some of that dirt in and making some of that water go east, we put some things into our pool that'll help us take on extra water. But we can't take on 4 acres of water, so it's too much. So by doing some of that hillside, removing all those rocks, reseeding all that, putting grass in so that, we can try to eliminate, I don't know if you go down there now and you've probably looked at it, if you look over where that fence is right now, there's a lot of washouts. I mean, we've taken a lot of water in there. Right now, it hasn't
Well, I
been a
see it
huge.
done. I just don't think that it's the city's obligation to pay for it.
Well, and I think it's, we're protecting our utility easement. We're asking for more than a 5. Normally you get a 5-foot utility easement. The problem is we need a 15-foot. We've got utilities that run, well onto that other property to the north. And you're right, probably the whole pool could have been pushed. I'm not sure how much further you could push to the south. We're not actually on the property, we just need a bigger easement than what's normal. So as part of that easement, we're gonna try to help take care of ourselves, 1, our utilities, but 2, we're gonna try to take care of that hill and how much water we take on. So we get to control that a little bit rather than someone else. I mean, the property owner could just dig a river if he wanted to, a little basin, and it could all run to us. I'm sure there's some legalities to that, but this way we get to control a little bit of that and help ourselves out in the process and protect the $3.5 million investment that the citizens made. So we're gonna, with the street department, we're gonna de-rock all of that. We're gonna do the dirt work. We're only hiring a contractor to level out the piles up on the north side, which again will help us. It'll help them as well, but it's mainly for our purposes to make sure that we're pushing water where we want it, not where it just naturally goes. So we're talking $1,500, probably to have someone, level that off, and then, whatever we have in interior labor. You're gonna pay a city employee to do something that day, and it may as well be that,
It's
so.
not their regular job.
Well, yeah, no, I understand. We thank the street department too. They did an awesome job up at the pool. The original contractor estimate to take out our old pool was $55,000. We probably have $4,000 or $5,000 total wrapped up in that whole project, saving taxpayers another $50,000. It isn't their regular job, but we're
That's our city project, at least.
Yes, it is, yes. And this is, it's not on city property, but it's a city project. I mean, we're trying to control where water goes or where it doesn't go. And we want to make sure that we're protecting our investment. And, our last pool was there for a long, long time, and I would guess this one will be there for a long, long time, so. And it's been, a great project for us. And, we want to make sure that we help protect that long after I'm gone, so. And we tried to start this process a little bit with the school. They were pretty intent on, wanting to sell the property to us. Obviously, we weren't interested, or council wasn't interested at that time of buying it. I mean, there would have been several things we probably could have done with it, but, it's sold now, and now we're stuck kind of dealing with, not the school, a property owner, so. And they want to protect themselves a little bit too, so. But I think all told, we won't have much in this project. We did agree to do some, I don't know if everybody's read the contract, but, do some plantings, help with, some of that stuff. And we have several trees that won't cost us anything as far as from our greenhouse, so. And it'll help it look nicer too, and keep some of that dirt from washing with some plantings as well, so.
The county is donating the seeding if we buy them.
Yeah, we're gonna do the seeding, they're gonna provide the mulch, so. I've talked to the county, well, we scheduled that a long, long time ago, and now we've just been on delay, so. But September's coming around, and that's kind of the best time to seed now. We certainly don't want to seed in August, so, but we'd like to get it ready for seed in August, so.
Did I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion from O'Laughlin, second.
Second.
Kurtz. Roll call, please.
Kurt,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Lennius,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Grover,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Phew. We're down to reports. Not sure if I should start this tonight.
We can start with
I-
Finance Committee, because we've already beat all the stuff up that we talked about, so there's really nothing more to talk. We don't have anything more to present.
Any more committee ones? I think I am going to start before I ask anybody else, because there's some people here that I think would like to discuss or hear some of this. One of the main things that I have 3 things, but I'll start with the first one is, since we did, not wanting to, accept Walters Aviation to get out of their contract early, we need to be doing something with the airport and it's been pretty much a divided factor and all that stuff. So I've decided, and we've discussed this, and I've decided to form a task force of which Mike Lennius has agreed to facilitate for us. We will have 9 to 10 people. We've discussed possibility of people to be on that. It'll be divided. We'll have some people from the council, we'll have people who utilize the airport on this committee, and citizens, and trying to discuss. We have more than one option. We have different options that we can accept or look at, and this committee will be looking at those. They won't be making any decisions other than deciding what they would like to present to the full council for approval of what we do and how we move forward with the airport. So unless Mike has something he'd like to share on this, because he's going to be in charge of it, we're hoping that the committee will start this next month, or this next week, to get this started so that we can be moving on it and making some decisions. So there hasn't been a lot of people in the citizens who have come forward wanting to be on this committee, but we have a few, and we think we can get the committee formed or finalized. So
I'd be happy to serve as a council person with it.
okay.
And hopefully we can get this thing started. It'll, how it is with 8 or 9 people's schedules. It's tough, so I'm guessing next week is a little bit ambitious, but we'll try to do this as soon as possible.
Right.
There hasn't been a lot of people expressed interest, but I think there's been some good people express interest. So, like the mayor says, we'll try to get going on this and look at what's the best for the airport, for the community, and go from there.
Right. And we do have some names of people who did accept or have agreed to do it, so we'll go with that and finalize the last couple of them. So, next thing I have under mine is emergency management has a training session on Wednesday, August 30th at 6 p.m. that is for elected officials, so that you can learn what the responsibility of the city is for any emergency situations. I need to get a head count back to Mr. Wolfkuhl, so any of you that are interested, I think everybody.
How long's that last, Bonnie?
Probably at least a couple of hours. 'Cause
We got
it's-
7 o'clock that night, the House Task Force with
For the
George
what?
Lake. I'm on that, so.
Oh. Well, maybe he'll change his, I don't know.
This
I
is
don't
a,
think this one's gonna get changed, because it's a countywide.
this is a pretty significant training for those of you
is.
that have not been through it, put on by emergency management. And I'd encourage you to make an effort to be there if you have not been through it, because your role as elected officials is different than the staff or emergency responders would be, but it's not less significant. You play an incredibly important role in this, so.
Yep. But let me know in the next day or two, if you send me either a text or an email, let me know if you're going to be able to attend that, so I can let Rick Wolfkuhl know how many will be from City of Independence. The last thing I have on mine is that tomorrow night, Walter Aviation is having, I believe, their last fly-in cookout from 5 to 8, which I plan on attending. It may be a last chance for you to talk to Jonathan or give him well wishes or whatever before he's gone the end of September. So I'm just throwing that out to the public or to anybody that would like to attend that. And I will start then with city employees. Laura, would you like to start with the library? Since we haven't given you a chance to step up yet.
Yeah, the library has had one solar eclipse event and has another one coming up on Monday when the actual event is coming. So I wanted to mention those, but I also wanted specifically to talk about these glasses. We did have an event a week ago on the 7th. David Voits came and talked about solar eclipses, and we had purchased glasses to give out and from Amazon, and they of course, said that they were certified and everything, but I today opened an email that said that they have not been able to verify that these glasses are safe, because even though they're printed with all of the correct logos and certification numbers, they may not have come from a manufacturer that is an approved manufacturer. So I wanted to let people know that if you came to that event and got glasses, we would love for you to please come back to the library and get different glasses. We do have these other glasses, and all of the glasses that we have that we know are the safe ones are these yellow, red, green, and blue ones, and they're flat. They haven't been pre-folded like these. So if anybody, those who got glasses like this, don't use them, please. We don't want you to damage your eyes.
This is a
We
warning.
don't know. They may be good, but we don't know. And from what I've read, there's no way to actually test them without expensive equipment. So since we don't know, please return those and get these, which we know are fine.
You have enough of those for the people that have the other ones to come back in and return them?
And others who would like to pick up a pair of certified, verified glasses from us, we do have a number of these, and we'll be giving them out as supplies last. We will be holding some back for our event on Monday during the eclipse. It's 12 to 2 on Monday, the 21st. And we, hopefully the weather will be good so we can view the eclipse. And we have some crafts. We have hot dogs and chips and lemonade. So come out and have those and get a verified glasses, and you can view the eclipse. We'll also have live coverage to watch, just because it'll be educational and informational, but also in case the weather's bad, you'll be able to see it on another source. So again, please don't use these that you got from the library, and we're sorry, and please pick these up instead. So
Great.
that's the main thing I wanted to say tonight.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you.
Justin, did you have anything you would like to add?
I just came back from vacation, so not right now.
Okay. Bob?
This counts as 3 meetings, right? We are very short on staff, so I wanted to put that out there. If there's anyone looking for a part-time mowing job, we're looking for mowing, park maintenance, cemetery, complex. We lost all of our complex workers in July. We lost we're down to 1 mower, so we're looking to hire about 3 employees.
Ages, what do you need?
Nope, no ages. They just must be 17 in order to drive a mower, but most of those guys are in school, so we're not looking for any age specifics, so someone that can operate a mower or a trimmer, or, yeah.
Okay.
So, nope.
They contact you?
Pay me enough so I
Yep, they can apply at the Falcon Civic Center.
Okay,
Thanks.
very good. Did Mark leave? I know I saw him earlier. Is he hiding?
No, he took off.
Okay.
Tim's back there, though.
Tim's back there.
Tim's back there.
Tim back there?
Yep.
He's the one that's hiding. I can't see him. Are you sure? Absolutely. Okay, last chance. Michael Laughlin, would you like to start?
Apologies for if you're offended, but when I saw a 30% increase, and I know that this has been an ongoing battle and it really needs to be done. When I worked for the city, I've been in those well houses with the chlorine and so forth, so I understand the safety factors, but 30% kind of blew me out of the water, especially where an engineering estimate of the
Did us too. Yep. Anything else?
No.
Austin?
Nope.
Your schedule changed a little bit, so some of the committees
Yeah,
are gonna change.
I think my manager was in vacation mode, because when she put out the schedule for this week, it was her last day before vacation. And she just like copy pasted 3-week schedules in a row.
So if we change some of the safety and public works committee meetings from Monday to Thursday, is that going to be a permanent change or just for this month?
I think just this month.
Okay,
I think every other month I'll wind up having Mondays off, so.
okay. So council members, you need to get back to Al and let him know whether Thursday works out for you for those two changes. Let him know. Instead of this coming Monday, it'll be Thursday, is it the 23rd, I believe?
24th on Thursday.
24th? Changing from Monday to Thursday, the 24th. So let us know for sure. Anything else then, Austin? Is that it? Mr. Vaughn?
Not a thing.
Okay. Mr. Lenius?
Nope, we've already done it.
Deb?
I've just got updates on the dog park. On Wednesday at 5:30 to 8, we're having a benefit for our dog park at Woofie's in Quoski. There'll be raffles there and a buffet. September 6th, we have Del Rio's. They're doing a fundraiser for us all day, both meals. Pizza Ranch, we got a couple coming up, and I'll let you know about those later. We're gonna have a golf tournament at the end of September. But I'd like to thank all of our committee members this weekend. They all worked really hard. We had Friday night, we were down by the park, and then we were at Farmer's Market, and we did a dog photo, and that went really well. And we had a thing at Falcon Center, a vendor fair. Thanks, Bob, for letting us use that. That was good. Holly Cameron, Diane Kurtz, Sue Doan, Brian and Sonia Elzy were wonderful workers this weekend. We had the Sanity Room, too, on Friday night, and that was a lot of fun. So we're just trying to encourage businesses and people to donate to the dog park so we can get up and going, hopefully before winter we get the fencing. We're at over 10,000 right now. We need about 14 to get the fence ordered. I think that's about it. So thanks, everybody, if I forgot anybody's names. Then I had one other thing that was brought to my attention this weekend, the vandalism on the walls in between the theater and that alley. And Fred and I did go down on Saturday or Sunday, I don't know, Saturday, to try to clean it up with a power washer, but we didn't get it. So we would like the city employees to step up and see what they can do with that. I was down there spray painting, trying to cover it up, first of all, and they had better spray paint than I did. So, and, you know, I didn't think that alley was really used much, but we were down there for, I don't know, an hour or so. There is people that walk through there, there's people that look at it, there's people that ride bikes through there. So it is a problem.
Okay.
Thanks.
John?
I have nothing, thank you.
Al, you want to go next?
And I appreciate the effort, Deb. I know that we've made contact and want to get that graffiti cleaned up. Please don't use paint to clean up graffiti because then it looks like it's an art wall and they start taking that as permission to.
I think somebody else did it, and they did a good job. They got theirs covered up, but I bought the wrong color.
Oh, okay. One thing, you know, the best thing that we can do is have it sandblasted, and I know that there's been some discussion with that. The only other item, Tim is very modest in his report, but I know that he is working on addressing the street, 3rd Avenue North, is it 3rd Avenue Northwest? And 2nd Street. The street in there needs some work pretty desperately. More importantly, the intersection of 3rd Avenue and 2nd Street has a low spot at the intersection that works as a storm drain for us, but it also makes it pretty difficult to go through there with a vehicle, and so we're going to be addressing that here this fall in the next couple of weeks. Okay.
Is that in the southwest you're talking about?
Northwest.
Northwest.
Right behind Burger King.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that one.
So,
Yeah.
so be aware of that. Also let you know that Bland Boulevard will be closed the end of this week. The county has some work to do back in there, and so I believe it's Thursday and Friday this week, Bland Boulevard will be shut down. And we'll find out either tomorrow or Wednesday if Chig-Fry can move up their crew to come in and start on that earlier. When they found out how many truckloads of cobs come into the Cobb plant daily, I think Chig-Fry got nervous and rightfully so. Their late start date was September 18th. That's when they were going to start. I think they're trying to flip-flop a couple of jobs and get this one done before the season starts for the Cobb plant, because it's 100-plus trucks a day. And they run 24 hours a day, that we have to detour through town. We'd prefer not to do that, and they understand why. So, again, they're working with us, and I commend them for their efforts. I hope they can pull it off, but we'll know supposedly yet this week whether or not they can swap those projects around and get in here and get that started. The detour route for the truck traffic, if we have to shut down Bland, they will come down Enterprise Drive, 150 to Enterprise Drive, up 6th Avenue to 9th Street, and then 9th Street straight into the Cobb plant. It's the only practical route that we have. I know Tim has got his crews going out to trim the trees and make sure that that's ready. But there's not a lot of ways in and out when we shut down Bland Boulevard. I think people forget how important of an access point that is, not only for the Cobb plant, but for the citizens as well. And anything we can do to minimize that heavy traffic in the harvest season would be beneficial. But Brian Kylaber is working hard on that, and again, I'll publicly thank him for his effort in minimizing the impacts to the city. It's a 20-day project, 20 working days. That translates into about a month of real time. So that's all I got.
Okay. Carter?
I'll defer till next meeting, and I'll have a lot of stuff to say then.
Oh, you will?
No, probably not, but
I was going to say, I want to be prepared. Gina?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Did I miss anybody? Anybody else hiding back there? Okay, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Danny's making the motion. Didn't hear that one. Second?
I'll second.
Second from O'Laughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank everybody for coming.